Stand in front of your garden right now and calculate what you spent this year. Add up the bags of fertilizer, the bottles of liquid feed, the compost you hauled home in your trunk. If you are honest, you probably spent hundreds of dollars feeding dirt that was alive and fertile before humans ever touched it. Now ask yourself this question. What did forests use before Miracle-Gro existed? What fed the Amazon rainforest for 10,000 years without a single trip to the garden center? The answer is sitting in the corner of every old English garden, banned from every modern nursery, and deliberately erased from agricultural textbooks. In the 1800s, British farmers documented a plant that produced 40 tons of biomass per acre per year for 20 years straight. It required zero fertilizer input, zero pesticides, and zero replanting. One root cutting generated enough nutrients to feed an entire farm. Laboratory tests confirmed it released potassium faster than manure, decomposed in days instead of weeks, and mined minerals from 15 feet underground that no vegetable could ever reach. Victorian England grew it as famine insurance. By the 1970s, one obsessed researcher had tested 14,000 varieties, searching for the perfect strain. And by 2001, it had vanished from every single garden center in America. Not because it failed, because it succeeded. The global fertilizer industry generates $227 billion every single year by selling you powdered rocks and synthesized chemicals. This plant makes all of it obsolete. And in 2001, the FDA issued a warning that destroyed its reputation overnight. But here is what they did not tell you. The ban was about pills, not plants. It was about supplements, not soil. And while everyone panicked and ripped it out of their gardens, the fertilizer companies quietly celebrated. Because the one thing that could collapse their entire business model had just been labeled dangerous. This is Comfrey. And if you don't know how to use it, you will keep renting your soil's fertility from a corporation for the rest of your life. Welcome to Soil and Secrets. Let's go back to the year 1845. Ireland is starving. 1 million people are dead. Another million are fleeing across the ocean. The potato blight has turned the island into a graveyard. In Essex, England, a poor Quaker named Henry Doubleday is watching this horror unfold, and he is furious. Not at God, not at fate, at the system. Doubleday had tried everything to escape poverty. He manufactured starch. He produced glue for postage stamps. Every business failed, but the famine changed him. He stopped chasing profit and started chasing survival. What crop could prevent this nightmare from ever happening again? He began researching obscure plants, Russian imports, forgotten vegetables, anything that could feed masses of people with almost no input. And then he found it. A plant the Greeks had used to heal broken bones. A weed with sticky roots that Romans boiled into paste, strong enough to glue pieces of meat together. For 2,000 years, Europe called it knitbone. Doubleday called it the future. He wrote to the head gardener at the Royal Palace in St. Petersburg and requested seeds of a specific Russian variety of comfrey. But fate had other plans. The seeds that arrived were not pure. They were contaminated. A hybrid, an accidental genetic cross that exhibited something called hybrid vigor. The plants that grew from those seeds were monsters. They exploded out of the ground. They produced 40 tons of biomass per acre, 4 times what any other fodder crop could manage. Doubleday abandoned the glue business immediately. He spent the next 30 years obsessively documenting this plant. Yield data, nutritional content, growth rates, pest resistance. He believed he had found the crop that could end famine forever. And then he died. poor, unknown, devoted to a plant nobody cared about, and his family made a choice that would haunt agriculture for a century. They burned all his notes, every measurement, every observation, every year of research gone, turned to ash. The man who could have saved millions from starvation was erased by his own bloodline, but the plant did not die with him. In 1950, a young horticulturist named Lawrence Hills discovered Doubleday's forgotten story and became obsessed. He founded the Henry Doubleday Research Association with one goal: finish what the Quaker started. Hills gathered Comfrey strains from across Britain, 14,000 varieties. He grew them side by side in massive trials. He recorded every single measurement: height, weight, nutrient density, decomposition speed, disease resistance. And by the early 1970s, one strain dominated every single category. He called it Bocking 14. It was sterile. It produced no seeds. It could not invade. It resisted every disease, and it delivered the highest nutrient content of any plant he had ever tested. Then, Hills did something that should be studied in economics classes forever. He refused to patent it. He refused to sell it. Instead, he mailed free root cuttings to anyone who asked. Gardeners in England, farmers in Africa, homesteaders in America. Anyone, everyone. By the time Hills retired, Bocking 14 was growing on 6 continents, and the fertilizer industry was watching. Because laboratory analysis revealed something terrifying. Fresh comfrey leaves contain more potassium than farmyard manure. Manure rarely exceeds 1% potassium. Bocking 14 delivers over 3%. But that is not even the dangerous part. The dangerous part is the decomposition rate. Most green manures, alfalfa, clover, grass clippings, they sit in compost piles for weeks, slowly breaking down. Comfrey decomposes in days, sometimes hours. Its fiber content is so low that microbes devour it instantly. Toss fresh comfrey onto a stalled compost pile, and the temperature will spike within 24 hours. The entire mass transforms into black nutrient-rich humus, while other materials are still recognizable. This is not normal. This defies every known timeline for organic matter breakdown. And it gets worse. For the fertilizer companies, at least, the secret is underground. Comfrey roots do not stop at 6 inches like lettuce. They do not stop at 2 feet like tomatoes. They drive down 15 feet into the subsoil. 15 feet. They function as living mining drills, pulling up potassium, calcium, phosphorus, and trace minerals from depths no food crop can reach. When you cut the plant, you are not just harvesting leaves. You are bringing deep earth minerals to the surface. It is a biological nutrient elevator running 24 hours a day for 20 years. Think about what this means. You plant comfrey once, one time, and for the next 2 decades, it mines fertility from the geology beneath your garden and deposits it on the surface for free. No bags, no bottles, no trips to the store. You are not buying fertility, you are growing it. Now let's talk about the math that keeps executives awake at night. In the early 1900s, the world was running out of fertilizer. Guano deposits were depleted. Farmland was collapsing. Scientists predicted global famine. Then 2 German chemists invented the Haber-Bosch process. It synthesizes ammonia from nitrogen in the air using extreme heat and pressure. It saved billions of people from starvation. But it came with a price. The process consumes massive amounts of natural gas. It generates catastrophic carbon emissions. And it addicted the entire agricultural system to fossil fuels. Today, the Haber-Bosch process feeds half the planet. The global fertilizer market is worth $227 billion. And every single dollar depends on one thing: farmers buying bags of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium every single year. Comfrey threatens that entire model. You plant it once, it produces for 20 years. You need no nitrogen input because it makes its own. You need no irrigation after establishment because the 15-foot taproot accesses deep water tables. You need no pesticides because nothing bothers it. And you need no annual purchase, ever. If every farmer in Britain had followed Henry Doubleday in the 1850s, the synthetic fertilizer industry would never have gained a foothold. If every gardener in the 1970s had planted Bocking 14, commercial fertilizer sales would have collapsed. The industry knew this, which makes what happened in 2001 incredibly convenient. On July 6, 2001, the FDA issued a public warning. Manufacturers were advised to remove Comfrey dietary supplements from the market. The reason was legitimate. Comfrey roots contain pyrrolizidine alkaloids. These compounds can cause liver damage if ingested in large quantities over long periods. The FDA banned supplements, pills, teas, capsules, products designed for internal consumption, but the headlines did not make that distinction. The word toxic appeared in every article. Garden centers panicked. Nurseries stopped stocking Comfrey entirely. The public heard liver damage and assumed the plant was deadly to grow, to touch, to have anywhere near food. Nobody explained that using Comfrey as mulch poses zero risk. Nobody explained that soil microbes break down alkaloids within days. Nobody explained that the ban applied to eating the root, not using the leaves. The result was surgical precision. Within 5 years, Comfrey vanished from mainstream American gardening. The plant Lawrence Hills spent decades promoting disappeared. And the timing is fascinating. In 2001, natural gas prices were spiking. The fertilizer industry was consolidating into massive conglomerates. Companies whose entire business model depends on dependency. And suddenly, the one plant that offered permanent independence was declared too dangerous to sell. Meanwhile, Bocking 14's performance has not changed. It still produces 40 tons per acre. It still decomposes in 72 hours. It still delivers 3% potassium. Established plants survive temperatures down to -40 degrees. They tolerate drought. They thrive on land too poor for other crops. And because Bocking 14 is sterile, it never escapes. It stays exactly where you plant it. Controlled abundance, waiting for harvest. Here is how you use it. Cut the plant when it reaches 3 feet tall. Do not pull it. Do not dig it. Just cut it at ground level with a sickle or shears. Within 3 weeks, it regrows to full height. You can harvest 5 times per season. 40 pounds per harvest. 200 pounds of biomass annually. For 20 years. From one plant. Use the fresh leaves as mulch around tomatoes, peppers, squash. They release potassium as they decompose, feeding your vegetables while suppressing weeds. Or make liquid fertilizer. Stuff a bucket with fresh comfrey leaves. Fill it with water. Let it rot for 2 weeks. The result is a black tea so rich in nutrients, it outperforms any commercial liquid feed. Dilute it 1 part tea to 10 parts water and pour it on anything you want to explode with growth. Or chop the leaves and toss them onto your compost pile. Watch the temperature spike. Watch the entire heap transform into finished compost in weeks instead of months. Comfrey is the ignition switch for decomposition. And you never buy it. You just grow it. One root cutting becomes infinite fertility, because every time you divide the plant, you create more. It is a biological system that rewards you for using it. The opposite of the industrial model where every use costs money. From 1845 to 2001, Three forces tried to erase Comfrey. Time erased Henry Doubleday's research notes. Industrial agriculture erased the need for perennial fertility, and regulatory confusion erased it from garden centers. But none of those erasures changed the biology. Comfrey still mines 15 feet deep. It still delivers 40 tons per acre. It still decomposes faster than anything else. And it still costs nothing. The fertilizer industry generates billions by selling products you must purchase every season. That entire empire relies on one thing: you forgetting that fertility can be grown, not bought. Comfrey cannot be patented. It cannot be genetically modified to force dependency. And it cannot be controlled because it grows from a single root fragment. Lawrence Hills understood this. That is why he gave it away for free. He knew that for Comfrey to survive, it had to be decentralized. Impossible to monopolize. Impossible to erase. Walk through any permaculture garden today, and you will find it growing in the corners. Quiet, unassuming, indestructible. The people who grow it understand that 40 tons per acre costs nothing if the plant lives 20 years. They understand that fertility does not come in bags printed with corporate logos. It comes from roots that reach deeper than any machine can dig. Comfrey is not extinct. It is underground, literally and metaphorically. Bocking 14 still exists. Root cuttings pass between gardeners like contraband. Small ads on Etsy. Whispers in permaculture forums. The plant Henry Doubleday found after watching 1 million people starve persists exactly as he predicted. Unkillable, unstoppable, waiting. It is not a weed. It is freedom from the supply chain. It is fertilizer that costs nothing forever. And the fact that a $227 billion industry spent 20 years making you afraid of it tells you exactly how dangerous it is. Not to your liver, to their profit margin. Stop renting fertility from corporations that profit from your dependence. Stop believing that plants need chemicals synthesized in factories powered by fossil fuels. Start growing the one thing that turns dirt into wealth without costing a single dollar. If you are ready to break the cycle, type the word Comfrey in the comments. Let the algorithm know that free fertility still exists. Subscribe to Soil and Secrets, because we are digging up what they buried. And remember, the smartest gardener is not the one with the biggest budget. It is the one who understands that nature has been solving problems for millions of years without charging a subscription fee. The fertilizer is already under your feet. You just need to plant the key that unlocks it.